Am I the asshole for telling my mother-in-law she made her bed so lay in it? My husband and I are in our early 30s, married for a few years but together for 11. Throughout this time we often argued due to my IL's behavior, but specifically Mill. There are many examples I could make, but to sum it up, she has been controlling not only to my husband but also me, even going as far as pressuring my husband to make me do what she wanted regarding situations that didn't concern her at all, disrespectful towards me, overall invasive and demanding. You name it. The only thing she has not done is directly insult me to my face. I kept telling my husband I was over their behavior and to put a stop to it, but he never really acted decisively, so mother-in-law never really stopped. Time after time I would put up a happy front and bite my tongue not to cause drama, but because everything just keeps piling up, I'm always on the verge of blowing up whenever I'm around them. I told my husband I'd like to limit contact at least for a while, but he insists we go visit. My husband is also aware of much I'm affected by this. Anyway, we meet up and mother-in-law starts with her usual antics. I stay quiet until I've had enough and start talking back to her. I did not insult her, but I wouldn't let anything slide like I usually do and highlighted every inappropriate or invasive comment. She is surprised and asks me what came onto me. I never acted like this, and so on. In a fit of rage, I wasn't yelling and I spoke calmly and slowly, but my emotional state was crystal clear. You couldn't mistake it for a lighthearted remark. I told her she's been disrespecting me for years and this is what she's getting now, and she made her bed so she should just lay in it. Things got tense and we left. I'm upset but finally feel liberated for standing up for myself. Husband seems torn. Mother-in-law is obviously livid. Husband has now said that he agrees and understands my emotional state on the matter, but also wants to keep the peace and to just apologize. I refused and said I would only be open to revisit the relationship if I see some change and effort to at least be cordial and mutually respectful, and I absolutely will not apologize for anything I said because I mean it and would do it again. I reminded him that he had many chances to stand up to them and that I also said no one involved would enjoy it if I had to stand up for myself, and he never took me seriously. I also said I never insulted her or yelled at her, so apologizing for my reaction to her comments sounds incredibly backwards. Am I the asshole for what I said and for not budging on this? Not the asshole for this moment, but you've been treating yourself poorly for years by staying with a man who is willing to sit by silently while you are being treated disrespectfully, and asks you to take the poor treatment to keep the peace. Why did you marry him before this got resolved? At least at this point you don't have kids. If he does want kids, then find a good counselor and insist on establishing boundaries with the ILs before you bring a baby into this toxic family. Not the asshole, you're a saint. Your husband needs to step up and be better. If he can't stand up for you with you present, I highly doubt that he does behind your back. Makes me wonder what mother-in-law says when you are not there, and why she's comfortable enough to say it to him. Not the asshole. You are 1000% correct. Do not budge on this. Good for you and your shiny spine, op. Your husband digging in his heels and refusing to resolve this with his mother is making it so much worse. This is not on you to continue to be treated poorly to keep the peace. It is ultimately on your mother-in-law to treat her son and daughter-in-law with respect. Full stop. Not the asshole. Why are you married to a sniveling mama's boy? He's never had your back. He doesn't now. He says he understands, but wants you to apologize? Screw that. He will never have your back. Time to leave. Not the asshole. If anyone should apologize, it's your husband. He should apologize to you for not having talked to his mother about her inappropriate behaviors as soon as they started. And also, he might consider apologizing to her for not informing her that what she was saying, doing was inappropriate. He knew this all along, and rather than say anything, he let it fester. That's all on him. Not the asshole. Your husband didn't stand up for you, so you did it yourself. He needs to realize as a husband his wife comes before his mom. I assume father-in-law is still in the picture to take care of Mill. Am I the asshole for not going to my friend's wedding after what she said to me? A few months ago, a friend of mine told me she was getting married. It wasn't meant to be a regular wedding but more of an elopement kind of thing. We were supposed to be her, the groom, me, as a maid of honor, and a best man, plus a few close family member, about 10 people in total, and it was planned for early November. I say, wedding, like that in the title because there will be no invites, no, save the date, no ceremony, no walk down the aisle, just courthouse and dinner. That comes from the bride herself, I'm not guessing anything. A week ago I got the news that I had gotten a permanent job. I don't know how to explain it because this is a very typical thing from my country, Spain, where every so often, the government will hire professionals to work either in the administration or in public institutions, education, high school. This is usually a great opportunity because these positions are for life, well, until you retire, and they can never fire you. In order to apply for these positions, you have to take an exam, and then depending on your years of service to the institution and the score you get on the exam, you can get one of those jobs. Long story short, I took my exam last year and last week I got told that I got one of the jobs, but I will be moving cities for that. When I told my friend this, the only thing she said is, "When are you leaving? Can you still come to my wedding?" No congratulations, no, I'm happy for you, nothing. I must add, 2 weeks ago I talked to her to know where were we having dinner for her wedding, and she said she didn't have anything planned yet, let alone booked. Had she told me she had everything booked and that she really needed my RSVP, I would have understood her answer, but in that context, I've decided that if the only thing she cares about is her and her wedding, and she can't be happy for me, I'm not going to the wedding. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. While your friend's reaction may have seemed dismissive, it's possible she was caught up in the stress of wedding planning and didn't fully process your big news. Weddings, even small ones, can be overwhelming, and she likely values your presence on such an important day. Instead of immediately deciding not to attend, you should have communicated how you felt about her response. Friendship is a two-way street, and it's important to express your feelings rather than make assumptions. Canceling your role as maid of honor because of one comment comes across as self-centered and could hurt your friendship in the long run. Talking it out would have been a better approach. You are the asshole. Yes, it's rude that she didn't congratulate you for your job, but in your post you're denigrating her wedding by putting it in quotes. It's clear you were to play an important role that day and you must be close friends if you're the maid of honor and one of just 10 guests. Also, Spain is a small country with good trains. It shouldn't be hard to go back on a Saturday for the wedding. Sounds a little overreactive to me. You blame her for being all about herself when you are being all about yourself too. You don't have to go because an invite is not a mandate, however, if you aren't going in retaliation for her not being happy for you about your job, then absolutely. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. The only thing she said is, "When are you leaving? Can you still come to my wedding?" For some weird reason you are interpreting her comment negatively. Her comment could easily be interpreted as, "You are very important to me and I really hope you can still attend an important event to me. You are one of only 10 people invited and I'd really like you be there. Congratulations on your new job." You are the asshole. You're going to skip her wedding because she didn't congratulate you? Maybe in your own excitement over your own life event, you don't realize how petty this sounds. Whether she chooses to get married in a church, courthouse, event space, etc., it's still a wedding. This person obviously considers you a very important friend if she asked you to be one of so few people in attendance and to fill a special role and you didn't seem to have one nice thing to say about her or this event in her life. Lol, she chose you as her maid of honor? She must have poor choice of character. Am I the asshole for kicking my uncle out of his house? I, 23M, was very close to my grandfather, who passed away last year. He left me his entire estate, including the house after my grandma divorced him. Before he passed, my grandma had asked him to let her son, my uncle, 50M, not biologically related to my grandfather, rent the house. They set up a 3-year contract for $1,800 a month, and at the end, he could buy the house for $377,000. The contract ends this November. After a lengthy probate process, the house is now officially in my name. My uncle asked if I'd extend the contract because of high interest rates, but I didn't want to. I'm hoping to buy my own home soon. My grandma pressured me, saying, "It's family," so I reluctantly agreed to extend it for 3 more years. While I was waiting for a new contract to be drafted, my uncle asked if he could start construction on the house. I said no, but then a friend of mine, who was doing the work, told me that my uncle had already started construction without my permission. I went to check it out, and sure enough, major work had been done without permits. I confronted him, and he denied it until I showed him photos. He claimed it was his house, and that he could do what he wanted. Later, during a family holiday, my uncle and his girlfriend ambushed me, proposing a 5-year contract with lenient rent terms, no restrictions on construction, and permission to sublet. I refused and said I'd have my lawyer draft the contract instead. During probate, my uncle and his girlfriend discussed what they would prefer contract-wise that left it more open-ended. I continuously listened to their wants, however, I told them in the end I would send them a contract drafted by my lawyer once the house was in my name. A few months later, my uncle, his girlfriend, and my grandmother sent me the 5-year contract they had proposed during the family holiday. I firmly declined. My grandmother then called and berated me for not signing, claiming that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have inherited anything from my grandpa. At that point, I lost my temper and said, "You have to be f***ing kidding me." She responded, "Your grandpa would be disappointed in you for using that language with me." I replied, "Don't use my grandpa against me," and hung up. Since then, my grandma and uncle have cut me off. I had my lawyer draft a new contract, 3 years, no subletting, and a clause requiring my approval for construction. The rest of the original contract, from my grandpa, is the same. Now my uncle is saying he can only qualify for $350,000 instead of the $377,000 he owes, and my family is pressuring me to accept the lower offer, accusing me of forcing him out. Am I the asshole for refusing his contract, insisting he pay the full $377,000, signing my contract, or moving out, and standing my ground despite family pressure? Not the asshole. My grandma pressured me, saying, "It's family. So are you. You're family, but they don't care about that." I confronted him, and he denied it until I showed him photos. My uncle and his girlfriend ambushed me. My grandmother then called and berated me. That's what you're dealing with. You're better off without them. Not the asshole. Legally, it is your house. Evict him and be done with it, or he will screw you around forever. Not the asshole. Prime example of FAFO right here. Edit to add. Please talk to your attorney about both renters' rights and squatters' rights, if applicable, in your area, as well as if the non-permitted work will have any impact on your ownership. I know laws vary from place to place. I just don't want you to have any issues due to obscure legal technicalities. Seriously, I hate business with family. Do not extend the contract. I can't stress how ridiculous it is that you are doing business with people that are entitled and liars. Not the asshole. You will be the A if you let them stay any longer. Before you have them sign the contract for $377,000, get an appraisal. With real estate values in the past few years, the property could be worth much more. Armed with the true value, you can do a take it or leave it stance with no further haggling about the price. Or just sell it to an outside party and make more money. Not the asshole. Get the property valued and see how much of a bargain $377,000 is to them, and how much the lowball offer of $350,000 is just to hammer home, no. Remind them that you, as the owner, sets the details of a deal. They don't dictate it, and whilst they are family, they also shouldn't take advantage of family and abuse the goodwill, of which there is little left after uncle has already started lying and abusing trust. Am I the asshole for taking kids to dinner when my wife had left food out for them? I picked up my 3 and 5-year-old from daycare on a night that my wife had to take our 12-year-old to a practice. They were hungry when I picked them up, and I knew they'd like to go to dinner instead of going home. Once at the restaurant, I saw a text from my wife that she had made them plates before she left the house. It was too late to change plans, so we stayed and ate. The dinner she had made was a pretty basic, but it was dinner nonetheless. When my wife got back home, I told her I saw her text just a few minutes too late and we ate out. She flipped out on me for wasting her time. I told her I didn't intend to waste her time, but that didn't matter. What I did was rude. Am I rude for this? Am I an asshole? What are we doing for dinner? Is a discussion pretty much every family has, pretty much every day, especially once kids start doing after-school activities. If you don't currently do that, perhaps you should start. I don't think you're an asshole for not dragging your kids away from the restaurant once you were already there, but this feels a lot like you just wanted to treat your kids and didn't care about what was planned at home. It feels really off that what your wife and 12Y were doing for dinner never came into this whole thing. No need to flip out if it was a genuine timing mistake, but depending on how far away from home daycare is versus how far a restaurant is from daycare, you knowing they want to go dinner first is a self-serving excuse because home equals dinner also. Once at the restaurant, or once ordered, was it really too late to change plans? Or you were just too lazy, stubborn? Maybe not the right choice of words, to go home instead of going in to order. Sometimes waiting for food after ordering could have been similar time to get home. Whether the dinner was basic or not is irrelevant, but you mentioning it tells me you are further just using it as a self-validating reason to say you did nothing wrong, but you kinda know you did. Info. How frequently do things like this happen? Do you always do your best as a partner to acknowledge her contributions and balance the division of household labor? Just admit that you wanted to go out to dinner. Everyone wants that sometimes. Just be honest and make sure the food at home gets eaten at the next meal so it doesn't go to waste. You should have texted wife and asked if you could bring Auntie home for her and 12Y though. You saw the message while at the restaurant. You should have replied right then and offered to bring something home for the other half of the family. You are the asshole. She had to take care of herself and your oldest kid, and she put in extra work to make sure you and the younger kids had dinner already there for you. You went to a restaurant, saw her text, and just didn't update her on what you were doing, let alone make sure that she had something to eat herself. Just saw this. I'm sorry, we're already eating at a restaurant. Thank you though, I really appreciate it. What happened to the food she left out? Did you take care of it when you came home? A mix-up is a mix-up, but you still should have acknowledged and appreciated what she did for you. And you should be starting a conversation on what dinner will look like on nights like this, so you are both on the same page. You are the asshole because lack of communication. Unless it's normal to take half the family for food without checking if everyone else has eaten, wants something.